Comedian Kamau Bell is the host and executive producer of the Emmy Award-winning CNN original series, United Shades of America. The show follows Bell as he explores communities across the nation to understand the unique challenges they face. Take a look.
Your Christianity, his ability to protest, her voice to the voiceless, their courage to fight, my mission. This season of United Shades of America, it all comes down to us. We are all the people.
Whoever voice I have to be, I will be that voice.
Time to get off my ass and do something.
When you ask questions, sometimes it effectuates change.
United Shades of America with Kamau Bell. Season premiere April 28th at 10.
Everyone, put your hands together for Kamau Bell.
Trying to figure out this couch situation.
You need an extra pillow?
I need other pillows.
Here,
Take this one,
Take
too.
all the
I'll
pillows.
give you all the pillows.
Pick up your feet.
I'm the very oldest millennial in the world, so here we go.
I'm right there with you, buddy. It's all
Here we
good.
go. Casual.
I love United Shades of America. I think
Thank
it
you.
starts so many important conversations. It's something that I'm constantly talking to friends over dinner. So mission accomplished.
All right. Well, thank you for having me.
Yeah, you're done.
Bye, woo!
And success.
Yeah.
But you're going into the 4th season. Is it still fun for you to do? What keeps it engaging for you?
Yeah, it's still fun for me to do because every year I think we get clear about what the mission of the show is and clear on how to execute it. And also I get to bring in friends since I've won a couple of Emmys. I know you got that Dance with the Stars thing.
I'm still looking for an EGOT.
Yeah. I'm one fourth
Only
of the way.
four more
Yeah.
4 more awards.
I have 2. I'll give you one of my Emmys so you can.
You only need one.
Oh, you're giving out Emmys?
I'm giving out Emmys.
Oh, I want one.
Then I only have 0. I have to.
We
Okay,
can
well, I guess
share
put me
it.
on the. Okay,
You'll
thank
share
you.
it.
Thank you,
Yeah.
share.
We'll co-parent the Emmy.
Yeah.
So as I do more, I get to bring on friends. Like this season, Alicia Garza, who's one of the co-founders of Black Lives Matter, is in an episode. In the megachurch episode this weekend, Pastor Michael McBride, who's this great pastor out of Berkeley, is in the episode to talk about megachurches. And so April Ryan, as you saw in that clip. So I get to bring in more people who I admire or people who I think his work need to be highlighted. So yeah.
And it's a highly political kind of show. How have things shifted for you in storytelling since 2016?
Do you guys remember 2016?
Yeah. Doomsday.
We had a president named Barack Obama.
And then I blacked out.
No, it's been
I remember
like
crying a lot.
Yeah.
He
So
still cries every morning.
Oh, yeah.
that means he's really feeling it. Yeah. No, unrelated.
Different reason, but okay.
Yeah.
So we were the mood of the country was different, and I feel good that we got to start our show in that era.
Yeah.
So that by the time Trump was elected, it was like, oh, it's clear what the mission is. So there's no confusion about what we're supposed to do. The show is about creating a more inclusive, a more progressive, a more just society, and knowing that, as we say this season, it's on us. We cannot wait for people in Washington to do it. We can't hope that we vote for the right person. We can vote for good people, but it's really on us to build our communities. I'm gonna do this for me. I'm gonna do that.
And I think a common refrain that we've been hearing a lot since 2016 during that election and post that is like, America's so divided. We're so divided, we can't unify, whatever.
Yeah.
I think you recently said this show resonates a lot because people often say, well, this is the first time I saw my community represented on the show. Do you think that's the reason why, it's now going to 4th season, people are still watching?
I mean, yay, the country's divided so I can have a career. I'm not that craven, but first of all,
It's okay, you would be.
As I've said before, the country's been divided since the first boat landed.
Started.
Yeah. Since Columbus went to I'm in India. No, that's when the country first got divided.
Yeah.
So, so I think that's the thing. People who say that are people who were not paying attention. So I mean, you probably didn't think our families weren't like the country's so divided. We grew up in a divided country.
Yeah, I'm from Nebraska, dude. I know.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh, that's hardcore.
It's rough, right?
Black in Nebraska. That's a whole episode. We'll do that
A whole
season
show
5.
about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's for me that once we go to these places and sit down and talk to people, it's about building these connections, and also about people at home going I didn't know these people existed. We did an episode last year about the Sikh community, who's often confused for being Muslims or misidentified as Muslims. And there's all these people I just got an Instagram message from somebody who goes, I didn't know I had Sikhs in my neighborhood. Some people say Sikhs. I didn't know anything about them. I saw your show, then I saw one of them in my neighborhood. I talked to them. I went over to the house for dinner.
Wow.
So for me, there's the show right there. That's the show. It's not the show means nothing if you just watch and sort of then wait for the next thing. It's about getting into action.
Absolutely. And this season has a very interesting new theme song.
Yes.
which I know is very significant. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, so the first 3 seasons, the theme song was the national anthem, sort of a
Right.
like a sort of a discount Jimi Hendrix version of the national anthem because he's very expensive to license.
Right.
So
We love a discount.
yeah. So this season, I've been wanting to do this since last year, but this year's I think the 20th anniversary of the song "Lift Every Voice and Sing," the Negro national anthem. I can say Negro, and it's so we can say Negro.
I wasn't going to try.
I didn't think you were.
For the record.
You have that face?
You don't have that face.
Okay.
You don't have a Negro face. So the theme song is "Lift Every Voice and Sing," which is the Negro national anthem, which is the kind of anthem this country should have instead of the national anthem, which references dead slaves.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So that's the new theme, and it's recorded by my friend Vernon Reed, who's a guitar player from a band Living Color, had a song Cult of Personality back in the day. So it's like a friend of mine who's an incredible musician recorded the new theme, "Lift Every Voice and Sing." So I'm super excited about it.
Amazing.
Yeah.
You know, you had so many important conversations on the show. I wondered, do you have any favorites? Do you have any conversations that stand out or that you thought that really made a difference?
Well, the benefit I have that I get from the show is that I get to have the whole conversation. Like, so a lot of those conversations are an hour long, and they get edited down to like 4 or 5 minutes, sometimes less. And so I get to have the whole conversation, which I feel like that's actually I'm witnessing a better show than everybody else is.
Right.
So we did an episode in the 2nd season about Muslims in small town America outside of Detroit, Hamtramck, and Dearborn, Michigan. And we were supposed to meet with this young man who was an Orthodox Muslim, but also had recently come out as gay, and how he was still practicing Orthodox Islam while also claiming that it's okay to be gay in Islam, which, first of all, every major religion has problems with gay people. I don't want to like sit here and talk about the Muslims like every major religion has this issue. But I thought he was going to be this guy in crisis, so I went there like, I'm going to have to like really, he's going to be crying because he's got to go through all these things. And he's also like 21 or something.
Yeah.
And he was the most serene, gentle, spiritual person I'd met in a long time. And at the end of the interview, I felt better.
Right.
You know, so I sort of went in going like, I'm going to really help this young man come to grips with his.
And then you're leaving crying.
I was leaving like totally changed by the experience. And that happens pretty often on the show. So yeah, that was a good one.
And then it must be so incredible to be in these like brainstorming sessions of how you come up with the concepts and you know, finding the people that you want to reach out to and talk with. What is
It
that
is.
like?
I mean, it's really exciting. It's the idea of like we have an episode this season where it was like we decided we were going to go. There's one clinic in the state of Mississippi where a woman can get an abortion, and so the idea of going there is like, will they let us? Are they going to be okay with us? And it was just really exciting to be able to go there. And so those kind of things where you go, if we can get this on TV and show it accurately and not show it in a TV news sensational way, we'll be doing. Forget if I'm in it, just letting these people talk, mostly all women who work there, letting them talk is an amazing thing. It doesn't matter if the show is good or not. And so those types of things are exciting. Or when we went to Yuba City and did the Sick show, or the first season we went to San Quentin prison and talked to men, lifers in San Quentin. Like, I feel like in those situations, the less I talk, the better the show is, because these people show up ready to talk, so.
Yeah. And then what about this season? What can we see you guys?
So this season, we have the opening episode is about mega churches in Dallas, Texas. Everything's bigger.
Fascinated.
Yeah, no, it's super good. Then we have the second episode. When I travel around, go to airports and coffee shops, there's a lot of fans of the show of all races and religions and genders and creeds. I still know what creed means, but
I did too. I used to listen to them.
Exactly. Oh, let's sing along. Let's end this on a sing along of a creed song.
She's fitting.
I know, you're like,
So good.
can't we talk about the problems in this country? We're also the second episode. So a lot of times white people will come up to me sort of breathlessly in coffee shops and airports like, what can I do? What can I do? It's so bad. What can I do?
We break out the song.
And so we have an episode that's called Not All White People, about white people who are doing things. So so it's
I love that.
Not all white people.
not all white people. So including like this place called the John Brown Gun Club, which are white, liberal, progressive, inclusive people, people who believe in inclusion, who are also Second Amendment gun advocates. So they show up to protect the Black Lives Matter protest or the immigration protest to sort of go, you're not going to, white people, Nazis and alt-right people aren't going to show up with guns to scare these people because we're white people, we can show up with guns and we can just, and create the peace. Yeah.
You're so good at keeping it fun. Like,
Thank
how
you.
do you find that balance? Because it's obviously like a heavy topic, but you keep it light.
I mean, I think that like, it just so happens that the most oppressed groups of people, probably always in whatever country they're in, are always the funniest people. So I grew up in a household where my mom was talking about the civil rights struggle and the pain of losing Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and Malcolm X and how it affected the community. But there was always laughter throughout that because you can't process all that pain without relief. So that's where humor comes from. It's a defense mechanism or a way to lighten your load when you're in the middle of like what seems like an impossible situation. So for me, it's like, I am a comedian, so it's on my job description, but before that I was a person who was like hearing my family and friends laugh about things that situations that are on the surface aren't funny, but that's how you process the pain.
Yeah. And you traveled to Kenya with Anthony Bourdain.
Sure did.
And I mean, obviously he's always about, going out of your comfort zone. And did that trip, does that still impact you, when you travel now? Is there any piece of advice that he left with you?
That was one of the greatest experiences of my life, even before he passed away. I was like, I'm living in the bonus round. Like, if something happens and I don't get to do anything else, everybody who watched Parts Unknown with Anthony Bourdain was like, I want to be across from him at that table. And so when I got to sit down the first thing to be across from him, I actually said, I'm in the thing. So for me, and then not only making the show, I'd never been to Africa before. Kamau's a Kenyan name. I'm not Kenyan, but Kenyans always said you need to go to Kenya. So I went to Nairobi, went on safari, never been on safari. So it was all these new things, also with the greatest travel partner in the history of travel. And then we'd sit in the car or after the shoot, we'd hang out and he would give me advice about how to do the show. So this show is completely informed and dedicated to Anthony Bourdain's memory because I would not have a show at CNN if he didn't have a show. And this show would not be what it is without him giving me advice when we were on Kenya. So when he passed away, I was saddened, as we all were, as many of us were, but I was also like, I now even feel more lucky that I got to go to Kenya with him. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that it inspired you and it inspired this next season because your storytelling, I think, is something so important and so needed, especially now.
Thank you.
Thank you, W. Kamau.
Thank you. I'm clapping for myself.